Throughout the industrial age, the railroads were a major driving force in America. And by the 1930s, Sioux City was one of the busiest railroad centers in the nation. The Sioux City Railroad Museum has celebrated that history for decades. And this afternoon, they celebrated a milestone of their own. KTIV's Connor Trett has the story.
The Sioux City Railroad Museum celebrated their 40th year since the organization was born. The idea came to be in 1984 when the Obermeyer family thought of a way to save a locomotive that was on display in Sioux City.
In 1984, my dad and I and my mother were at the mall, and we had gone to the food court, and we used a napkin to kind of map out the potential of what we could do to keep the locomotive here in Sioux City, and then develop a museum around it. So it was all born on a napkin at the food court.
And acquiring that locomotive eventually led to the museum buying this entire plot of land in 1995. Now, this land used to be a junkyard, and it took an army of volunteers a decade to make all the necessary repairs, clear out all the debris, and of course, bring in all the trains.
Trees were growing in places they had never planned to be growing, and in one case it even obscured an entire building. Some of the buildings were very, very close to being unrepairable.
Our volunteers really worked hard to clean it, and then what you see today has been over $9 million worth of improvements out here.
And Saturday afternoon, the museum held a celebration to commemorate their years of operation and their volunteers' hours of service.
We have 5 volunteers that have been here a full 40 years, and each year they contribute over 15,000 hours of work. It's just really a way to say thank you and to let them reflect on what the past has been and what work they've accomplished, but now to start imagining what the future will be.
And they hope to continue to educate their visitors on the history of the Sioux City Railways for years to come. In Sioux City, Connor Trett, KTIV News 4.